Jim, before we get to Dynamite, let's talk about a few things AEW related. Word going around this week, still in the rumor phase, that AEW Originals, Penta El Zero Miedo, and Rey Fenix, his brother, will be leaving AEW, with a lot of people pointing their fingers to WWE, saying WWE is interested in them. What are your thoughts on this, and what are your thoughts on not just the idea that they would go to WWE, but what does that mean symbolically? Does it mean something to AEW? Not that AEW has to retain everyone forever, but they're not as cold as a whole lot of other people there. Like, they still have something with those fans. What does it say symbolically about someone like that going to WWE?
Well, first of all, Brian, when you point a finger at someone, you have three more pointing back at you. We've proven that many times. And
is that Lanny?
That was Lanny. And symbolically, it means nothing symbolically except to the fans of AEW, who are going to be mortified or upset because they've sold out or they've left or they've gone, they've headed for higher ground, whatever, they've departed. They've left the party. If they do go to the WWE, for any of the WWE fans that see them, they're probably going to be seeing them for the first time, except for that, as we mentioned, 600,000 or 700,000 or whatever it is that watch AEW, and they're going to have no preconceived notions. I don't see it, and I don't think anybody in the company is going to see it as like the heart and soul of AEW being ripped out from under them, because they've been there since the start, yes, but one or the other has been hurt, and or they've just been off for visa issues or gone for long periods of time. Remember, the one guy broke his arm being choke slammed through a table, right? So it's not like they've been the constant, the rock, the rudder, the steadying hand. They haven't made massive contributions behind the scenes in terms of production, or they don't have multiple jobs in talent relations or as producers or whatever. I think basically what it shows is that the WWE is more serious about going to Mexico, which better make a lot of the Mexicans, the promotions, worry. Because, I mean, let's face it. If you just took those two guys, and who knows what their names or personas are going to be or whatever, but if you took those two guys and just made them Joe and Bob and put them in the WWE ring with these other guys, they would not only look small, but they'd look lost. Because I got news for you. The WWE is not going to change its style to Lucha Libre to cater to these two guys if they were signed. But they do have a name in Mexico. The Mexican fans love them. I don't know if they can use that name, but I would assume that not only will the Mexican fans know who they are anyway, but they're in Mexico. Now these guys can work Lucha Libre. And maybe they have a couple of fucking opponents come in and it's a special. They just ran Mexico and did big houses, like they're doing everywhere. Do they want to go more often? Do they? You mentioned earlier in the show, they've never done a pay-per-view from Mexico. So, and when they were bidding after Okada, if that indeed is what they were doing, are they looking for people that they can get that will make differences in Japan? Julia, the girl they just signed, they're looking at every country in the world now. So I can see them being after people like this for what they might. What if they give these people $1 million a year and they fucking draw big, 4 or 5 times in their home countries, and they have a pay-per-view from there? They've made their money back on these fucking people, right, at this level. So why not? So whereas 5 years ago, I think the Lucha Brothers would have meant to WWE business overall right now. Yes, they could, depending on where they want to go. Some of these other people they're looking at. Same thing. Does that make any sense, Brian? They're not looking to get them over in Cleveland. They're looking to use them where they're already over.
You know, they're over in Mexico. Stephanie Vaquer, or Vacker, whatever it may be, she's over in Mexico. She was the top women's wrestler in CMLL, the champion in both the singles and tag team division. They've had desires of being a bigger player in Mexico for a very long time. You know, they signed Mystico, is it 20 years ago now, or a little less than that maybe? Just
Probably.
a long time ago. They've had long time designs on trying to do something there.
But Vince never, especially with Lucha, never understood, or he liked the idea of it, but he never understood how to do it.
You know, the problem is they're going to do something one way or another. And if you work with them, they'll cannibalize you. They'll just destroy you with a smile. But it's clear that WWE, company-wide, it's an international effort. And that doesn't mean they're going to stop in the countries where there isn't a major wrestling promotion. Mexico's a little different because CMLL is the only company I know of that owns their buildings. Not many wrestling promotions own something like Arena Mexico where they could just run that every day if they want and have. So it's going to be a different kind of battle. But WWE wants to be everywhere. And that means Mexico, and that means Japan. And they've got pretty much everything else on lockdown right now.
Well, and they cannibalized the British and European UK indie scenes several years ago.
Yeah.
And
you open the gates, you let them ride in, and then the raping and pillaging starts. But they smile and they shake your hand and they tell you about, how much they're helping you. And before you know it, all your talent is gone. Your promotion's gone, your fan base is pissed off, and all the wrestlers that were over are now wrestling somewhere else.
But they're polite pillagers.
Yes.
And say that's the thing. This is not revolutionary either, because what did Vince do in 1984? He went around to Vern's territory and got some of his guys, went to this territory and got some of those guys, and to Crockett's territory, whatever. Now it's not territories because there are none. It's the rest of the world, but they're doing the same thing. I got 4 people that are over in Japan. I've got 6 people that are over in Mexico. Here's a couple people from Australia. And hey, we got Gunther from, it's all just magnified now.
And that's one of the big differences between them and WWE, them and AEW. They're competing for the same talent. In WWE's case, yeah, it's to use them here domestically. But in a lot of cases, it's with the long-term goal of having a draw in a different place. With AEW, it's just about getting them on your roster here. If you think back to Europe 7 years ago, who were the names we were really hearing about? Will Ospreay and Walter. They both had very different directions they've gone in. And Gunther, is about the main event a show in Germany. Will Ospreay with AEW, other than England, they're not really going to be we'll see, but they're not really going to be an international player. So it's different. Depending on who you are, where you sign, that's one of the things you got to think about. You can still be a major player somewhere with WWE, be the WWE star coming to your home territory, your home region. Or you could be a big star in AEW making a bunch of money, but you don't really have that presence.
Well, and that's the thing is that, Tony wants to sign wrestlers that he's a fan of because he's a fan of Japanese wrestling, or he's a fan of independent wrestling in general, or whatever. He wants to sign those wrestlers because he's a fan of theirs. He's not looking at it like a business acquisition where if I sign this guy, he probably won't mean anything in the United States, but could open up this market for me internationally, or blah, 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 or even sometimes I know they do favors for some of the promotions they work with, probably favors down on their knees. I can understand bringing an international talent in and pushing that they come from such and such promotion when he uses everybody's titles better than his own and all that stuff. It's going too far. But it's basically, it's not really a business acquisition as much as it is Tony wanting to have those guys on his roster because he's a fan of theirs. I don't think anybody in WWE will have their feelings hurt if Felix and Penthouse don't end up signing with them. They will then try to wait until they find somebody else that's really over with the Mexican audience that they might could sign and go in there and disrupt the local business like they always do.
You see, AEW losing Penta and Phoenix helps their relationship with CMLL. It doesn't hurt it. And that's the big thing. MJF, and we actually have this match. I don't know if we'll get a chance, but we'd like to review it on the show. We'll see if we can get a chance to watch it.
I've tried to watch some of it.
MJF made
why was there a midget dressed in a maroon panda bear outfit on the apron for much of it?
Well, he's a legend. You can't really put him down. He's a legend. But what I was going to say is MJF main evented in Arena Mexico for CMLL, a partnership with AEW. That's like the best case scenario working with AEW for what you can do in Mexico. WWE wants to own Mexico.
Yeah.
See, that's the different priorities.
They're not wanting to send their talent
both cannibalize the rosters of everyone. They just do it in very different ways.
Well, right. You know, WWE does it as a cutthroat business tactic, and Tony does it as a live action figure collector. But that's the WWE would not want to send their talent to CMLL or AAA or anybody else or work in conjunction with them. They'd want to take WWE shows with the WWE stars to Mexico or whatever other locale we're talking about and have some people on that live show that are over in that market, can speak that language, can talk to those people and get mainstream publicity. And that's the way that they're doing all this fucking money or drawing all this money, is they're plumbing all of these markets all around the world for tax incentives, and we'll give you $2 million if you'll bring a pay-per-view here, and we can get this local publicity because our star X is from this area. It's just worldwide instead of the territories.